That's just how it goes. I would never fold this game. You're supposed to give it away. It's not to be sold. You gotta learn to keep the Lord is how you save your soul. Striving for the kingdom, that's your main goal. We can take this kingdom back, but you ain't ready though. You love the ways of this world, don't wanna let it go. I just tell the truth to my black folk. Expose the heathen of the evil, that's just how we go. I'm truly dedicated to this motivation though. When will it all change? Only the Lord knows.
To be blessed in the city and the field, let me show you what to do. Keep your mind on the grind, gathering immersion, brothers making moves. Dedication to this motivation, real true game. Dedication to this motivation, sweet train.
Shalom to the chat, shalom to the 12 tribes who are scattered abroad. This is another episode of Let the Truth Be Told podcast, episode 16, as we're going to be covering this topic of man's government is based upon lies. I'm your brother Zamron, the servant, with our elder Shemaiah. How you doing, elder?
Oh, man, all praise and all love to all of our people out there that's listening. This is another episode of Let the Truth Be Told. Again, I'm Shemaiah. I am the spokesman for the United Nations of Yasharala, our nation, your nation, one nation under the Most Almighty Yahweh, our power and strength. Today, we're going to be here. It's going to be me and my brother Zamron. Please keep our brother Phineas in your prayers. He's doing all right, but just keep him uplifted. He'll be back with us next week. And, hey, we're here to deal with and talk about the government. Talk about how it is based, the foundation of the United States government and governments in general across the world are based upon lies and hypocrisies. We have to be mindful of that because as we listen to syndicated media, they tell you what they want us to hear, and they do it to mold the conscience of our own minds to develop an opinion that's based upon their scenario to guide and direct how we move. So let us all be under complete awareness as we talk about this subject today and as we look at some of these video clips. And I'd like to say again, much love and shalom to everybody. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. All praise in the Most High. So we're going to get right into it, man. I'm just going to, whatever clip that you want me to show, I got these couple of clips right here, if you can see, that you sent me, Elder. Also, a couple of clips on the government shutdown too as well. Which one are you wanting me to actually play first?
Play that Martin Luther King one first. You know, we can let that be set the tone for everything.
Okay, sounds good. All right, here we go.
I must confess that that dream that I had that day has at many points turned into a nightmare. Now, I'm not one to lose hope. I keep on hoping. I still have faith in the future. But I've had to analyze many things over the last few years, and I would say over the last few months. I've gone through a lot of soul-searching and agonizing moments. And I've come to see that we have many more difficult days ahead, and some of the old optimism was a little superficial, and now it must be tempered with a solid realism. And I think the realistic fact is that we still have a long, long way to go. I think the biggest problem now is that we got our gains over the last 12 years at bargain rate, so to speak. Didn't cost the nation anything. In fact, it helped the economic side of the nation to integrate lunch counters and public accommodations. I must confess that that dream
That's interesting. And basically, as you see, like he's basically telling us, Elder, you know, being that he knows what's going on the inside. You know, there's some things that he can't even really express, right, to our people during that time, which is why we have such a long way to go. Like, that's what I got from it.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people, are very familiar, at least, in certain age brackets, concerning the civil rights movement and what the place that our people played in it, and where Malcolm X and Martin Luther King and the Black Panthers stood in some ways opposition, in some ways support. And one of the things that it's important to understand, because a lot of our people would use Martin Luther King to segue into that we have overcome. But we have not overcame. And one of the things that after he gave that speech where he said we shall overcome and all of those things where he was the little white boys, little black boys and little white girls can all play and hold hands together. That's one of the great speeches that he gave. But he realized after that speech and watching this clip that the dream that he had concerning unity was actually a nightmare. He realized that that speech led our people to a misunderstanding and a misbelief, and to continue to walk down this path as though we would fully be accepted in a system that never really loved us. That's just letting the truth be told. And one of the things that Martin Luther King said that a lot of our people never they don't use this as a quote. But he spoke the truth when he said this. He said that our people suffer from satisfying ignorance and conscientious stupidity.
Wow.
And a direct quote was, nothing in the world is more dangerous than a people that are engulfed by satisfying ignorance and conscientious stupidity. And so as we break that down, what do you take, Brother Zamran, when it says satisfying ignorance? What does that mean to you?
For me, first of all, biblically, I think about Ecclesiastes 7:7, to where surely oppression makes a wise man mad, but a gift destroys the heart. And so, in a lot of ways, I see that as how the government, they distract us, right, with what they would call gifts, to get us to literally honor them, or to serve them, or to worship them, or to follow their every single move, to the point that they have now became our God. And all that has done, you know what I'm saying, is just destroyed, you know what I'm saying, our minds mentally, and it's destroyed us physically. And so I just look at it as a tactic, you know, as far as what they've used, one of many tactics that they have used against, you know, Yasharala. That's where I get from.
Absolutely. So they use the propaganda machine to continue to perpetuate our ignorance. And why do I say that? We trust in the media so much that we never do our own research, and we watch syndicated news, and we don't watch global news. We don't look at news from other perspectives. So we are ignorant. And because America has been painted or created to be this melting pot of opportunity, we are satisfied with the ignorance that we live by, to the point where we blinded by it. We blinded by it. Then we have that other part of us that we're so conscious, meaning we're so learned in the ignorance that we're taught, that we actually stupid. So that's the satisfying ignorance and conscientious stupidity. We're so conscious that we blind. We're so conscious that we don't listen to learn, but we listen to respond. I see that all the time in a lot of different communications, whether it be on podcasts, whether it be on TV shows, or just dialogue in general, just between brother and brother, sister and sister, or brother and sister. We listen to respond. That means whatever words that's being said jumps right over our heads. It doesn't enter into the conscious, and we ready to defend our position. We have not really heard what the person said, really. And a person that doesn't listen, even if they don't agree, is a person that lacks humility. And if you lack humility, you can never gain complete wisdom, complete knowledge, or complete understanding. So we got to come out of that scenario of what Martin Luther King said. We're satisfied with our ignorance, and we're so conscious that we're stupid.
That's right. Right. Very stupid. And shout out to Julian Vibes and everybody else in the chat. Zachariah, you know what I'm saying? Ban Yasharal. Good to see you up on here, Elder. All praise in the Most High. Shout out to Jeremiah Yahoo, my guy, 1616. That's my guy right there. Shout out to you, brother. But she said that all praise in the Most High, Yah, him alone. The cabal is fallen, and we will be in the land very, very soon. And I agree with that. Zechariah said that propaganda is America's most powerful weapon. And this is exactly what the elder was talking about. Propaganda is the most powerful weapon. This is why they actually pay our people and other people in general millions and millions and millions of dollars to be in certain positions so where they can run propaganda. So, they'll even elder like they'll even do things to where, like right now, we know that there's really war going on. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of our people don't understand that we're actually in a war right now. So because they'll use events, Charlie Kirk's or things of that nature, to where it can be a distraction to the actual real problem, to what's really going on. And here in this clip, as far as dealing with Martin Luther King, right? Martin Luther King was just used as a distraction to what really was going on as far as amongst our people. Like you said, with those speeches, to hold hand in hand. When the Most High says that, though hand join in hand, the wicked shall not be unpunished. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's all. I feel like, Elder, this is my what you've been living longer than me. Like I feel like when I look at as far as like with my lifetime, I feel like that our people were more beneficial when we were actually segregated. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. See what our people, what the enemy at hand has learned and what they used is like out of the Sun Tzu is divide and conquer. So what I mean by that is under segregation, we were combined together in our communities. We were combined together in our own compassion. We all had the same plight. So we were unified. But under desegregation, that means they broke us up and now we're blending into their form of society. And now what our agenda as a people to come together and unify has been disseminated. It has been destroyed. They've done the same thing, and just real quickly, if we look at one of the elders asked me, because we're going to talk about this briefly too,
Mm-hmm.
is why hasn't the Arab community responded about what's going on in Palestine? Now, not just one of my elders, but one of my friends that's he practices Islam, but he knows he's Yasharala. But and I asked him the same question. But my answer to that is what happened is if we go back 50 years, you can look at and see how the European conquest, colonialism, the American machine, which is their Mashiach, the United States is their savior.
That's facts. Yep.
They have systematically broken down every Arab or Chaldean government, and they painted them as a devil. They demonized them, and to whereas the American public looks at those that are from that area of the world as they all this crazy group of people. And when you look at, you got your Saddam Husseins, you got your Gaddafis, you got your Bin Ladens, you got your Saudi Arabian leaderships, you got all of these different aspects of the Arabic world over the years have been systematically broken down. They have been divided and they have been conquered. And so that's why you don't see a Arab united front response to what's happening in Palestine. That's why
Mm.
you don't see a united response in our people as we have been divided and integrated in a system, and we believing in this dream that Martin Luther King realized that, look, it's a nightmare for us to be desegregated and just into their system. Now he realized at the end of his life that we should have stayed segregated.
Right. Right.
So that's the issue today. That gets down to our educational system. When you graduate from middle school, elementary school, junior high, middle school, the collegiate, they all have the same form. You got to wear this flat hat. This graduation hat is flat at the top with a tassel on the end of it. And that flat hat is a trial. If you're familiar with construction, they use a trowel to put mortar on. And you put mortar on that trowel, you use that to put the mortar in between each brick, to each layer of bricks to build that structure. So the mortar that's put on us as a symbol when we wearing that hat is the information that they put in our head to systematically control, and so that you can put your development, what you learn, as a mortar to continue to build their society. Think about it. You go to school. Most people have to pay for their education. You paying for your education to build their society. You paying to be a part of their society. And mentally, they have all of us brainwashed in their whole system. Not to say that we shouldn't be educated, we should be educated, but educated to the point where we can develop our own community, our own nation.
Exactly. No, that makes sense. And that's part of the Crafty Council too, is to make sure that they capitalize upon everything. You know, that's how they've had dominion and control. And it's just like ancient times, right? You know what I'm saying? Jeremiah Yahoo was saying earlier, right, that it was similar to what, you know, Balak was doing, right? As far as in the chat. It's similar to what we see, you know what I'm saying, with ancient Babylon, right? Even dealing with Greece. This is literally how they impose, right? If they impose to take over, they have to literally take over everything. And so once they have our minds, then they literally, you know, they conquer into where they can really push their propaganda to control the masses. And so that's a great point. I also have this short right here, Elder, that you sent too, as far as dealing with this officer. Then I also got some stuff that on my Facebook too that you sent. I didn't know if you wanted to go over some of those videos first.
Well, you can go through this, the one with the lady being choked. And the thing about that is that we don't realize that we have been experimented upon. They do a lot of things in the open to test you, Yasharala, to see where you stand. I guarantee you, and what I mean by that is we see our people getting mishandled and with no justification. And what is our response? Even if we respond, we're going to be having a rally. We're going to be talking about it when they putting hands on us. Okay. So they're testing you to confirm whether or not their experiment has worked on your mind. Guarantee you, any other group of people in the world, they see their people being constantly attacked. It's going to be a response. It's going to be a response.
Yep. You know? And that's why it could be a potential civil war on the rise.
Exactly.
So let's look at this video right here. It's a little short, dealing with an officer. Holds black woman in chokehold, punches and slams her to the ground at daughter's school.
You got me fucked up! You gonna punch me? You gonna hit me? You gonna hit me? You gonna hit me? You got somebody else to call? No, please. What's her number? 707. Hey, you hiding my arm? You hiding me?
You went too far. You got it, Cat. That's the devil, Cat. Okay? That's the devil. That police officer is the devil. Okay? That's the devil.
Hey, y'all, I gotta move this line.
What the fuck is wrong with you? Get the fuck off of that lady. You ain't breathing like a man, bro. Oh my God. I can't breathe. You is wrong. You is wrong.
Wow. He has absolutely no control of the situation from the start. Number one, as far as the officer. Number two, right? War was in his heart the entire time, like it says in Psalms 55 and 21. Trying to make it seem like it was going to be a smooth arrest, but really war was in his heart. Number three, he was never intimidated, you know what I'm saying? Never really was in fear of this woman, you know what I'm saying? And was actually excited when the woman actually was just defending herself because she was actually scared for her life, you know, our sister. And the moment that she literally swung, it was almost as if he was excited and said, "Oh, you want to fight? You want to fight?" And then just goes all out into a fight. You know, number four, he can't fight, as I clearly see. And it's just all out of order. And he's gonna not be guilty. You know what I mean? Of course, because this is what is spoken about in Zechariah 11 and 5. You know how our oppressors, you know, they slay us. You know, and they creep upon us and then hold themselves not guilty. And it's just another reminder of how the oppressor feels about our people and why we need to unite and stick together. And so, you know, it's sad to see. I mean, I don't know. I know if I was out there, elder, you know what I'm saying, and I seen that, I probably would have went to jail because I would have did something. To be honest,
Yeah, you know, and the sad thing, as one of the elders just said in the chat, they said a black police chief said that the officer was right in what he did. And here's the part that this is what I'm talking about. They have integrated us into their psyche. We will defend our enemy to destroy our own people. We will justify the actions of our enemy because we have been integrated in their system and partake in part of their dream, which is a nightmare, which really, at the end of the day, we against our own people as well. Even more, but they've learned how to systematically put that there for us to be like. You know, you don't see any other people that this happens to. Have you ever seen in the media any Asians attack like this?
No.
Have you seen you haven't even seen you haven't seen any Russians, you haven't seen it really, you know, although we do have, you know, yes, depends on where you live, you got your Hispanic culture that gets attacked.
Right.
But you don't see the masses being under attack as we are. The question that we should be asking is, because you know this happens every day with our people.
That's right.
Why is it that they show us all the time on camera getting attacked by police? Also, why is it that they demasculate our men more than any man on the earth on camera? They have all these series and movies where they showing our men being homosexual, doing all these things of that nature. It's always us that they show. For the majority, 95% of that is us. You got to ask yourself the question, why is the media painting this picture like that? They trying to supplant a subliminal messaging in you today. That's just like it's propaganda out here talking about the slavery never happened. It was impossible for them to bring ships over here. And then we have our people buying into that.
To that, man.
You know, and promoting that, you know, it's they creating a scenario and our people continue to buy into it, to step away from what our reality is. You know, that's just a sad fact that happens each and every day with our people. We listen to the propaganda, that propaganda becomes truth. The lie becomes truth, and the government perpetuates it. They put out propaganda even by the mouths of our own people, and then we listen as though it's true. You know, we got to start waking up.
No, that's a great point, Elder. I'm not even gonna lie. It's frustrating. You know, like I said, it's because it's gonna what we're seeing with that sister, right? We're gonna see this, like you said, we're already this is happening every day, but it's gonna get to the point where in Jacob's trouble, man, it's just gonna be happening every day, everywhere when we step out. And this is why we really have to return, back to the Creator, the Father, and Him alone, because we're gonna need grace. Because you were talking about the message that they were trying, that they try to send with how they broadcast, when it's dealing with us. Okay, because we know these situations happen with, with other people as well, right? But for some reason, they do broadcast, what I'm saying, the so-called black man, right, or the black woman, when dealing with these situations. And a lot of it is that they're trying to make our minds docile to let them know, like, hey, that don't think about rising up, don't think about uniting, don't even think about it, because this is what we're going to do to you, and we can get away with it. And when you're dealing with history, as far as us dealing with slavery, that just clearly shows you that we still suffer from what I would call PTSD, post traumatic slavery disorder, to where a lot of us are docile and we're afraid to step up and to be there and stick up for one another. We're so docile that we rather pull out our phones, right, and record, instead of actually stepping in and to helping our people. And so they already done a great number on us. Like you said, Elder, this was just another example of propaganda, right? Let's just put this out, right? Who knows? They probably even paid or gave a little extra bonus to that police officer just to push that narrative.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And what's unfortunate is that, what I'm saying, is that our people, it can, like you said, it can happen to anybody, because they can just drive down the street and just pick and choose any so-called black person that they feel like messing with. And they're going to be able to get away with it, period, on the spot.
Yeah, absolutely. Think about it like this. Now, I'm glad you brought that point up of us putting the phone out and filming.
Mm-hmm.
It was one police officer there, right? And we can assume that it was probably at least 15 to 20 black people there, men and women. Now, you telling me that our people could not stop that physically? Yes, they could have, and nobody would have had to get shot. They could have subdued that whole situation. It's just like, I say this all the time too. Like, you go and they'll have rallies, they'll have marches, protests, and things of that nature. It might be 500-600 people out there. And even with primarily with black people, then they'll have like maybe 20 mounted police with horses. Right? You mean to tell me that 20 can subdue 500 to 600 people? No. But when you subdue the mind, you don't have to do nothing physically. See, we've been institutionalized. But one thing that they don't know is the lion of Yahuwah is rising from the thickets. Okay.
That's right.
We're not taking matters into our own hands, but because the Almighty is our power and strength. But He will utilize His anointed ones to do what need to be done, and He will ensure their safety. It's coming a time where that will happen. Oh, Yaakov's remnant seed of Yaakov. Where do you stand at? That's what you have to ask yourself. Where do you stand? All right, we always talk about how big and bad we are. We'll go out there in the toughest neighborhoods, we'll shoot and kill each other. But when it comes time to deal with this government that's been on our necks and oppressing our people, we know where to be found. This is why when you come into any so-called black community in the United States, 95% of the businesses inside those cities are of other nationalities, and they take that money and take it to their community. And we wonder why we're impoverished. We wonder why we have ghettos. We wonder why we disenfranchised. We wonder why we at the bottom of the barrel. Then you got your black politicians up in there perpetuating this, and we up here voting to hear words that's soothing to our heads, but never getting a return on our investment.
Yep, that's facts. That's a great point. That is a great point. I got this clip here too. I got a few clips that you sent in my Facebook Messenger. We're just gonna go through them and see what it's talking about. But all praise to the Most High and Him alone. Check this out, y'all. Let me unmute this. Hold on. Do y'all hear that?
Slide it up a
Their
little bit
empire
more.
shit is
Yep.
There we go.
crazy. This is that's why I say once
Let me rewind this.
Yeah.
the crazy part, they make you pay for this shit. They make you pay to go be educated.
Hold on. So for y'all who can't see, what it says on the video, it says to be educated. The college system makes people pay to be educated, only to emerge with depth and build someone else's empire. Some feel they have been deceived into, as we see more, that they have been deceived into paying for a craft that ultimately benefits others, not themselves. Have you ever felt like this? Let's push play.
So that you can come out of college
Bad
and
credit.
build their empire. You're building their empire. Shit is crazy. This is that's why I say once you start thinking and put all this shit together, man, these people done bullwinkle us. You gotta pay to go to college to learn a craft to come back out here in the real world and help build up their empire. You ain't building it for you.
Yeah.
And see, and if we start to think like this, elders, you know what I mean, then they'll use propaganda to have us not even have these conversations or even think about these things.
Absolutely. You know, it's time out for us sitting back talking. It's time for us to truly unify, to come together as a nation of people. But part of coming together as a nation of people, you got to know thyself. You got to know who you are. You got to know your origin. You got to know your history. You got to know your bloodline. You got to know your ethnicity. You got to know your nationality and stop living based upon the characteristics that they placed upon you. Oh, Yaakov, you not African American, okay? You're not black, okay? You're not African, although we come from that region, because that name is also created by the European conquest. The name of that, the oldest name that we can find today for that whole continent is Al-Kebalan. So now you got to ask yourself, how can you unify if you don't know who you are? The scripture says, gather yourselves together, O nation not desired.
Mm-hmm.
You got to pay attention to the words. It says, gather together, O nation not desired. What group of people on the planet has not unified as a nation but us?
Mm.
We are the nation not desired. We haven't desired to be who we are. Why? We don't know, again, our bloodline. We are Shemitic by bloodline. We don't know our ethnicity, which we are Hebrew by ethnicity. And we definitely don't know our nationality because we Yasharala according to our nationality, according to the name that the Almighty gave to Yaakov to replace his other name. And that name that he gave him was his name. Yasharala is the Almighty's name. Okay. So we got to gather ourselves together. We got to come under one purpose and one definition. But our people refuse that. There's nobody else on the planet that is like that. You don't hear no Russians arguing about if they this kind of Russian or if they not Russian. You don't hear no Chinese doing that. You don't even hear no Hispanics doing that. Okay? We the only people that will argue with each other tooth and nail about who we are and where we come from. We got our community that say, hey, we indigenous to this land. We got our community that say, hey, nah, we eat Imhotep, we Egypt. We got our community that say, nah, we Moors. Then we get on the religious bandwagon. Then we talking about how we Nation of Islam, we Christian, we everything, and we fighting tooth and nail against each other. Why is it that we the only people on the planet that do that? I can tell you why. Because we were put under that curse for breaching the covenant that the Almighty put us under. And so now we have been consuming our own selves.
That's right.
So when we rising from this, the Almighty want to make it clear that it's not going to be by your power and strength. Now, when the Almighty pushes the button, he will infuse his power in the people that he brings forward to stand. That's how the Almighty always did. Always did that. That's like at Jericho. What did they do? They marched around Jericho
7
times based upon the decree that Yah gave, right? They
Mhm.
did that. When Aaron and Moshe, they went to Pharaoh and said, hey, look, let my people go. But if you don't, this is what you're going to get, okay? So the Almighty is always with his people. But Yasharallah, remnant seed of Yaakov, the question is, who you with? Are you with your power and strength, or are you with all these different divisions that have been perpetuated upon us that we gravitate to? It's called divide and conquer. When we gonna wake up to see that, family? Now, you know, people will come and say, hey, well, we can't gather, like it's saying Amos, what is it? Amos
3 and
2.
3. They'll use Amos 3 and 3. Can two walk together except they be agreed?
Except they be agreed.
But the context is off in what they're talking about.
Yeah, it's off. The context, they use that to for you to argue with your brother, when that context, when it was given, that was about how Yah felt with his people. He said, look, I made a covenant with you to bring you out that you accepted. But now you breaking my covenant. How we gonna walk together, Yasharallah? That's what he was talking. He wasn't saying it for you to go argue with your brother and sister about why we got these differences.
Right.
When we gonna wake up? But you know what? The Almighty said it's 2/3 gonna perish, and I'm gonna tell you what: either you gonna roll with the Almighty or you get rolled over. He's gonna start that process, though.
Yep. And that's why, you know what I'm saying, we just praying for grace and mercy, you know, and we just trying to do our part by warning our people that, hey, we need to come together. You know, all this other stuff, you know what I'm saying, doesn't matter. Doctrine, all that other stuff doesn't matter. We need to come together, you know what I'm saying, and start operating, you know, as a nation. And the way we do that is through the Almighty and Him alone. But all praise to the Most High. So let's look at this video right here. It says they are teaching the priests something different. It says, why would they teach priests something different than everyone else? So let's look at this right here.
Because you're stuck in religion and all that's fake. All of it. You just got to understand what you need to go directly study. And that's the key. So you can argue about history all day long. All religions are fake. The priest learned something different than the average citizen. And you got to understand the breakdown of the esoteric part, and you got it. You can bypass the bullshit. And let's break this down. There's your esoteric, which means hidden, and exoteric, which means outer, which everybody gets. Exoteric is moral teachings. Pray to God and hope you don't bump into nothing. The exoteric is what the masses get. The priests get the esoteric, the mystical. Because you're stuck in religion and all that's fake.
That's a good point. That's a good
point. You know, it goes right along with that scripture that says that the secret things belong to Yah, but the revealed things belong to his people.
Yeah, what is that? Let me look for that. But yeah, go ahead and keep elaborating. Let me look for that verse real quick.
And while you're looking for it, what that means is that the Almighty contains all knowledge and all understanding. Okay? Things that the world tries to understand, Yah has created. But his people is covenant people. The revealed things that the Almighty reveals about the secret things belong to his covenant people. So this is why right now, today, we have, you got it? You found it?
Yeah, this is Deuteronomy chapter 29, verse 29. The secret things belong unto Yah, our God, but those things which are revealed belong unto us and to our children forever, that we may do all the words of this law.
Hallelujah. And it gets back into what that brother said on the video, although he seems like he's Egyptology, yeah. but it's truth. You gotta learn, you gotta be wise enough to take truth when it's said and not throw away the whole baby with the bathwater. You know what I'm saying? The Almighty said that we're a nation of kings and priests, but we've been living a contrary wise. The Almighty also said, ye are gods, but you're gonna die like men.
That's right.
Because your light has been muffled out in your own eyes. Who you are has been taken away from you. Now you subscribing to be some of everything else. You know, one of the things I'm going to say this too. You know, I was having a discussion with one of the elders about this. If you ever go read, you know, how the Levitical priests perform the sacrifices, and I'll give you this scenario before we go to this video. You had an altar. You had two horns on the end. You had the priest to take the blood and put it on the horn tips. Then you got the basin of blood at the bottom. And then they taking that blood and they sprinkling it everywhere. Ask yourself this question. If you came across somebody that was doing that today, what would you say? You would say that that's some satanic worship.
Yeah, right.
So, and I'm bringing this up to say the European conquest has demonized a lot of the practices of our people. Like when you go look at Haiti, they hold sacrifice rituals, all that stuff that come from the Levitical priesthood. When you go look at these things that occurred, the Almighty had them doing these sacrifices to slow them down. Okay. And his biggest thing was, look, all right, Yasharala, y'all doing this to me, but don't look upon other people and how they serve their gods.
That's facts.
You know, and so what has happened is a lot of the customs and rituals that the Europeans have demonized, they paint it in a bad light. That's like in the thing they call voodoo. Some of that stuff they got straight from the priesthood. But we have been demonized. They have created the scenario that we have, and we've been drinking this cup forever, you know. And so now through religion, we also demonize everything in our own minds.
Wow.
You know, when the Almighty gave you, see, he created Yasharala, he created us. He's a creator. He said that you were gods, but you would die like men. When you gonna realize that you come from the divine? When you realize you come from the divine and your conscience is divine, then you can overcome. But we so far drunk, we so far into ritualistic practices and religion that we can't move forward. Go ahead, my brother.
Right. So let's check this video out. That's a great point.
And for letting Israel boss the whole world around. We have said you are not allowed to feed the Palestinians. No one is allowed to cross us. You hate Jews, you hate Jews, you hate Jews. Let us starve the Palestinians. Wait, if you're starving them, don't you hate them? No, of course. So look, these are wonderful folks. I hope none of them get hurt. Sometimes Israel kills people that are in flotillas. That happened in 2010. By the way, they killed a Turkish American there, and as usual, the American government was like, "Oh yeah, great, no problem. Yeah, oh, kill Americans all day long. Who cares? Oh, Israel. Israel has killed what now? What are we up to? 8 or 9 Americans since 2022 in the occupied territories, and the U.S. response has been nothing. They're like, I mean, yeah, you're murdering Americans, but you're Israel, so we bow. Don't say it. You're an anti-Semite. But is it true? And for letting Israel.
Yeah, I seen another video of him. This same guy. He was a lot more animated too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know. Were you the one that said?
Are you gonna use the VLG?
Yeah,
but this one's real good.
Yeah, it was another one I think I sent where he really got in on the government of the United States, where he was saying that, look, y'all with the United States in totally disseminating and destroying the Palestinians. And that's one point that I want to bring up. The propaganda machine. So we all know the United States supports Israel. Okay, right. You know that Israel would not be what it is, that the nation state of Israel would not be what it is without the United States. Now, the thing is that they wanted to take all the land away from the Palestinians because originally during the Zionist movement, when they made that an Israeli state, they took it from Palestine anyway. Now they want to take the rest of it. So under Netanyahu and all of this, they're creating a scenario where, hey, look, they want to destroy. They always wanted to destroy the Palestinians. If anybody ever been over there, you know that they treat the Palestinians like they used to treat. We still get treated bad over here, but they get treated like we were treated on the plantation, almost like that over there today. That's how they. That's how the Israelis treat the Palestinians over there today. They want to totally annihilate them, like the United States almost annihilated all the so-called Native Americans, and they want to take that whole area. That's their whole. And now you got this deal on the table where you got the United States, you got the Israeli government, and you got some other international leaderships, and Palestine does not have one seat at the table. And anytime, you don't even hear them really say Palestine, you hear them say Hamas, because they don't want the people to really associate with Palestine as a nation. They want you to associate with what they labeled as a terrorist group for the purpose to annihilate all of these people. Okay? And so now this gets back into what I was saying earlier. The Arab community as a whole has been systematically picked apart because you don't have one Arab response for what's going on over there in Palestine. And you got to ask yourself the question, why? Because I remember growing up as a child, there was a term that I heard that all the world was afraid of, and that was Islamic Jihad. Islamic Jihad means holy war. That means that from the men to the women to the children to the cats and the dogs, whatever, is going to fight to the last breath. You don't hear none of that echo today. What happened to that? You know? So they systematically broke all of that apart. They have removed the strength out of Ishmael because these is Ishmaelites. Okay?
Right.
They come from Abraham. They're not where the covenant lies through Isaac and Yaakov, but they related to us. They're related to us. So they have systematically picked them apart. They systematically picked us apart, but we got the number one weapon on the planet. You know what that is? That's the Most Almighty Yahweh power and strength. Period.
That's right. That's right.
Yep.
That's right. All praise to the Most High. So we're gonna I'm gonna wrap this up with this verse right here, Elder. What was that? What is that in Jeremiah? You know, where it says, you know, don't put your trust in the arm of man.
Oh yeah. Woe be to the man that put his trust in man and make flesh his arm.
Yeah, I want to say. Let me look that up.
And I tell you that. Yeah, that's I'll tell you that real quick too. And I know Ema probably gonna throw that in there. She right on top of it.
Yeah.
My connection is bad. Let me see.
Yeah. Jeremiah 17:5. I got it.
Okay.
All praise to the Most High. All right, so let's go to the book of Jeremiah, chapter 17, verse 5. Let me share. Y'all can see my screen. Okay, all praises. This is Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 5.
Hey, pick it up at verse 1. Pick it up at verse 1. Though.
All right, that sounds good. This is Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 1. The sin of Judah is written with a pen of iron, and with the point of a diamond, it is graven upon the table of their heart and upon the horns of your altars.
So what that mean? Yahudah, the Almighty has smelt and tasted of your perpetual sins. And it is in your heart, it's in your head to be stiff-necked. You are not listening to the voice of the Almighty to act in the capacity that he created you to be in, which is to be that particular tribe that brought forth the kings out of Dawid. But go ahead.
Verse 2. Whilst their children remember their altars and their groves by the green trees upon the high hills.
That means that your altars, O Yahudah, and contrary to popular belief, Yasharala, Yahudah, the tribes, although Yah first commandment was don't have no other gods before me, that's the first commandment that they broke. That's the number one reason why y'all got an issue with us today. And still today, as we serving other gods, we serving Christianity, Islam, JC, Allah, Imhotep, Buddhists, the Moorish Science Temple, all of that, and you can't tell us nothing. Go ahead.
My brother Bez yesterday, man, when we was out in the streets teaching, man, we got into a heated debate with a good brother of ours, though. You know what I'm saying? That's still kind of dealing with the Christianity, but he was explaining to him, saying that, hey, man, that the Most High, right, that He's our husband. Okay, then when you get to the New Testament, you know what I'm saying, that you have JC saying that He's our husband. So you know what I'm saying, you can't have two husbands. That's adultery. And so, when our people are messing around with idolatry and these idols, they're committing, you know what I'm saying, literally, you know what I'm saying, spiritual adultery or spiritual fornication. But all praise.
And you know
Verse
what?
3. Go ahead.
That's written very well in Romans chapter 7, because it tells you can't be married. The only time you can be married to another is when your first husband is dead. And it reasons so much that you're not under the law of the Almighty, but you under the blood of JC. So now you got a new husband. So it basically saying that Yah is dead. But go ahead.
Verse 3. O my mountain in the field, I will give thy substance and all thy treasures to the spoil, and thy high places for sin throughout all thy borders.
All right, so the Almighty had an issue with Yahudah because they were serving other gods. If the Almighty had an issue with Yahudah then, why don't we think He got an issue today? Why we think that we can act as though we sanctified, high and holy in the lands of our captivity today, when the Almighty didn't allow us to do it when we was in our own land? Why we think we can do that here? Go ahead. Which that's going to lead up to our next show about these Shabbats and feast days. But go ahead.
Verse 4. And thou, even thyself, shall discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not, for ye have kindled a fire in mine anger, which shall burn forever.
Now, this is a big point, my brother, that our people miss. It's so strong. It says, and thou, even thyself, shall discontinue from thine heritage. What's your heritage? Your heritage was your language, your land, you as being as a nation, your order, the kingship, the priesthood, all of that stuff was disseminated. You discontinue from it. Now, if you discontinue from all of that, how can you act as though it's in position today to perform as though you haven't been discontinued? How are we acting as though we can do all of these different things, all these different Shabbats and feast days, and the priesthood gone? We're not in our land, okay? It's so bad that some of our people were already going to separate the weekly Shabbat from the feast days when they're not separated. Feast days are high Shabbats. When you really study them, they high Shabbats. Okay. When you look at the practices on the feast days, they're the same. Don't it tell you not to have work or to labor?
That's
right. And you having a convocation. People don't understand though the holy convocation. This is the part that put us in that causes misunderstanding. The holy convocation only means that we were in unison for the same purpose. And I'll paint this picture like this. On the 4th of July in the United States, every red-blooded American is on the same purpose, right? But they're not in the same location. They're not in the same building, right? They not, all praise to the United States. They're not doing that. That just simply meant they acknowledged what the purpose of the 4th of July was. So the holy convocation didn't matter. Issachar, if you was in Atlanta, Issachar, Naphtali, or Yahudah, y'all all was under the same thought process. That didn't mean y'all was in the temple, everybody reading scriptures and this and that and having all this stuff that we having today, paying $1,500 to go to a feast day celebration. We getting all this money from, that's the money guy. We're using the money guy to go participate in feast days. Again, we're going to get into that next time. But go ahead, keep
That's a good point. Verse 5, the key right here. Thus said the Almighty Yah, cursed be the man that trusteth in man, and maketh flesh his arm, and whose heart departeth from the Almighty.
Yeah, cursed be the man that trusts in man. So here's where I want y'all to dig deep. Everybody that's listening, whether you listening live or listening on the recording, when you finally listen to it, look in your life. I want y'all to listen to this, not to respond, but to learn something.
Right.
It says, cursed be the man that trusts in man. Look in your life where you have to trust in man. Look in your life where you position yourself to trust in man more. So there's certain aspects in life that they force you to try to honor their laws. But where is it that look at yourself and see where you put more stock and trust in man in your own life. And I don't want y'all to sugarcoat and say, oh yeah, well see, I trust in JC, I trust in the Almighty. But you still going out there and voting. You still out there taking all these vaccinations. You still out there doing the same thing, expecting different results. You still out there with your camera videoing why our people getting beat up instead of doing something about it. Okay, you still going to man's government for remedy. You getting an argument with your brother and sister. I done seen this in the Hebraic community. We got people at odds with one group of people, and then they talking about how they not under this government. But you know what they do? Then they want to go, oh, well, see, I'm going to go sue you. I'm going to go get a lawyer. I'm going to go sue you. What? I almost said something. You know, but I'm going to tell you what. The almighty sword is coming for all of them knucklehead people of ours that do that. You know, and I hate to say that, like, I love all my people, but look, it's just like you got your own household and you got some disobedient children running around there. They make you mad, and sometimes you're going to have to get with them. And that's where we at. Yah's going to get with Yasharala. And when we not ready, he going to strip your butt down naked, and that belt going to be dipped in water. It might be dipped in gasoline, and you going to get it. And those that don't succumb to his discipline will be destroyed.
That's facts. That's facts. All praise in the Most High, in Him alone. This was another episode, right, of Let the Truth Be Told podcast. As you guys see, right, we are living in a government that is based upon lies. We cannot trust and depend on this government. We have to trust in the Most High and Him alone. So appreciate it. It's another great day, man, that the Most High has made. Shout out to everybody in the chat. We love y'all. Right, all praise in the Most High and Him alone. Shout out to Jeremiah Yahoo 1616, Fedora Yisrael, Yahuwah the Lioness, right, Julian Vibes. Shout out to everybody else, right, who's chimed in as well. We love y'all. Be on the lookout for next week's episode. Right, we're gonna be touching, right, dealing with Shabbat feast days and things of that nature, because this is a conversation that does need to be had. And so, you know, I just pray that, you know, next week that you guys actually just have a listening ear, right? Before, you know what I'm saying, try to, you know, rebuke, you know what I'm saying? Just have a listening ear first, you know what I'm saying? And see, you know what I'm saying, let the scriptures come out. But all praise in the Most High. We love y'all. Shalom, 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 shalom. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Also, as you see at the bottom, right, make sure you visit the website, www.yahwillgatherus.com. www.yahwillgatherus.com. All praise to the Most High.
Hallelujah. All praise, family. Hey, I want to say, leave y'all with this. Look, we do all this for love for our people, being obedient to the Most Almighty. Again, we don't do this to get views. We do this to do as we call to do, to speak, to utter as the Almighty bring us forth to speak and to utter in this day and time. And let us continue to have an ear to listen and listen to what's being said instead of listening to respond. That goes for all of us in all our walks in life. It doesn't matter. Even myself, I have to listen and learn. But if I'm listening to only respond to rebuke what somebody said without really considering it, then something is wrong. One of the things that the Almighty taught me years ago is this: if you believe in your faith so much, don't be afraid to put it on the stage to challenge it each and every day. If your way of protecting your faith is to get upset when somebody's walking differently than you, and you get upset and you get the name calling and get into arguments because of that, then there's something wrong with you. Because you apparently don't have enough you haven't been strengthened enough to challenge what you believe. If your faith is what you hang your life on, be willing to put it to the test each and every day. So we're going to do that on Let the Truth Be Told. We're going to put faith to the test. And we're going to do that each and every time we come on here. We're going to put faith to the test. And lastly, I want to say, look, go out there, Yaakov, Remnant Seed of Yaakov, and declare your bloodline, your ethnicity, and your nationality. Go on record and tell the world who you are. You're not going to ever hear me stop speaking that word, because we get out here and say we this and we that. But when you pull out your ID, when you receiving your check, all the stuff you doing in man's system, who you are on that birth certificate. You're not who you say in the conscious community. And matter of fact, if you go to their court like that, I know from experience, they're going to put that name under alias. And they're going to say, look, this is who you are. You know, if your name is John Clark or John Smith, and you go in there as Moshe Ben Yehuda, they're going to say, what's your government name? Your government name is where you going to when you going into their court, when you receiving your paychecks. So we got to stop being double-minded. But we're going to keep on talking about that too, on Let the Truth Be Told. But I say this in all in love and sincerity and dedication to the Almighty. We give y'all our hearts, and we say shalom.
Shalom. All praise.
I mean, that's just how it goes. I would never fold this game. You're supposed to give it away. It's not to be sold. You gotta learn to keep the Lord is how you save your soul. Striving for the kingdom, that's your main goal. We can take this kingdom back, but you ain't ready though. You love the ways of this world, don't wanna let it go. I just tell the truth to my black folk. Expose the heathen of the evil, that's just how we go. I'm truly dedicated to this motivation though. When will it all change? Only the Lord knows.
To be blessed in the city and the field, let me show you what to do.